Welcome on into another AOE2 cast of the Pick Your Poison tournament organized by Daniela and Komi and some other talented folks. Huge shout out to them for putting this whole thing together. We appreciate that a lot around here. And we've got the series between DragonNeo and Nessy at our hands here. It's another series from Group J, which is the lowest ELO group in this tournament. Of course, I'm also in that group, so it's going to be interesting for me to survey my possible opponents as the tournament progresses. We're still in round 1 here, and we haven't seen any crazy upsets so far, but in this one, we've got the 6th seed in DragonNeo playing against the 11th seed in Nessy. Yep, that is correct. I just double-checked that info. So it could be interesting. There's definitely a favorite and an underdog here, but it's not that big of an ELO gap here, presumably. So we'll see how the games actually end up playing out. You can see the draft and the maps on the screen right now. Match 1 is going to be played on Golden Swamp, Match 2 in Arena, and the final game is going to be Nomad, which I haven't casted at all yet in this tournament so far, so I will be seeing how that goes. First match apparently is going to be between Burbus and Mayans, so I suggest let's just jump straight into the game. Game number 1 between Nessy and DragonNeo. There we go. Let's roll and let's see how this goes. We've got light blue or turquoise or cyan, whatever you want to call that color, against Nessy in the dark blue. Maybe I'll switch those colors. Could be a good idea. White is a pretty cool color, but let's maybe change to something else. Orange is fine too. Let's roll with orange then. Orange for Nessy, who's playing as the Burbus. She is, of course, he or she, I don't know. Just sounds like a female name, but maybe I should stop using those pronouns. Either way, Nessy playing against DragonNeo's Mayans. So, as always, let's pull up the Civ info first and check out what these two guys are going to be up as and up against. First off, we've got the Burbus, which in the previous series that I've casted have also been played on this very map, in fact. So I might be repeating myself a little bit here, but in general, we've got cheap cavalry. The longer the game goes on, the cheaper the cavalry gets. We've got fast villagers the longer the game goes on, and we've got overall just one of my favorite civs. It is really fun to play as the Burbus as far as I'm concerned, and it is pretty strong too of a civilization. The extra movement speed on the ships might also even help out on this hybrid map right here, although in the previous game that we saw Burbus being played on this map by 3 Cores, who is the number 1 seed of this group, there was no water play involved. Any other significant bonuses? Not really. I mean, the Camo Archer is just a super cool unit, and if necessary, which in this game it very well could be, Janitors might be useful against the enemy's Mayans. If they end up building a lot of plumed archers, then maybe the extra mobility of the Janitor, the mounted skirmisher, could prove very useful. I haven't actually ever tested that matchup, I don't think, despite having some experience with these civs. So will be interesting to see a small skirmish between these two scouts, but nothing crazy going on here. So let's maybe take a look over at the favorite, the higher seed, number 6 seed, DragonNeo playing with the Mayans. Is also great civilization in pro play, but on general letter play as well, I believe. Starting with that 1 extra villager, but still, wow. I didn't even notice that yet, but look at this. They are down 1 villager currently, and the TC is still idle. I wonder what's going on for the Mayans there. They have the food. They just forgot queuing up that villager. A lot of early idle TC time. I wonder, maybe that's a nerfs here. Of course, it's game 1 of the tournament. You are the favorite. Maybe the pressure is at this point affecting DragonNeo a little bit. Could be forgiven, of course. I've been there. I kind of know that it is way different than playing on regular ladder games. So we'll see. Finally, some more villagers have been queued, but I was just gonna say the extra villager that the Mayans start with, such a great bonus. Hey there, Noob, by the way. See you popping up in chat. Great to see you. I've been casting a few more games from our group. I've just casted 3 cores versus oh, I already forgot his opponent's name. That is sad. Iron Sky. 3 cores versus Iron Sky, the number 1 seed versus the 16th seed. And now we've got Nessy versus DragonNeo, which are on our half of the bracket, I believe, new. So, yeah, if you're interested in that match, maybe stick around as well if you've got time. Was just wrapping up on the Civ specifics here for the Mayans. Well, very well known Civ in general, I believe, so I don't have to say a lot. You can read up any more info that you don't know about them on the screen here right now before I pull down the stats. They have cheap archers, they have pretty good skirmishers with their unique tag, and of course these super strong eagle warriors, if you get the imp unique tag for them as well. Good then, let's actually go into the game. I don't think I will be casting my own games. I have streamed my own game though. And you can check the Twitch VOD from earlier this morning if you want to watch my game and snipe all my strategies. Or you can wait until I upload it to YouTube tomorrow at 1 PM Berlin time. Whichever you prefer, my game is going to be available there. And you can fully deconstruct my play to eliminate me. I think we're playing in the next round, aren't we? I don't think me casting those games would add a lot of value though, because I don't know. Maybe if I have a lot of extra time, but I don't think I'm going to be having. Yeah, I'm going to have a lot of that at my disposal. So forgive me for that. We are playing next round. That's going to be exciting then. I completely stole your Viking strategy. I hope you're fine with that. You can. I won't spoil the results of any specific games, but yeah. So. DragonNeo has recovered in terms of villagers, but that's just because Nessy has already gone up to feudal age a little bit earlier than Neo. The idle TC time is quite concerning here. 1 minute more idle time. That was unprovoked, I would dare say. Nessy going for quite conservative walls at this point, already almost up to feudal age with those 20 villagers. I wonder what's going to come from that. They have not gone on to gold just yet, so I don't expect archers, obviously. Maybe just some scouts, as we saw in the game before. 3 cores was able to do a lot of damage with those 3 scouts that he made. Although it took quite a bit of time for them to get there. Maybe Nessy can be a bit more efficient with that. We'll see. You sent me a DM. Oh, I didn't get that just yet. But I see I have a new message request. I'll check that maybe between the games. But I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, the Vikings, very strong Civ. It's probably going to be a highly contested one if we end up playing each other. So we'll see how that goes. By the way, yeah, you can also already send me scheduling suggestions for our match. I will be responding to that later, as I said. Nelly also. Or rather Neo also having arrived to feudal age now. We'll see how that goes for them. They are a bit late to feudal age. No barracks yet, no archery ranges yet. Looks like Neo is actually just going for a little bit of water play and maybe looking to play a rather short feudal age and go to castle age faster than I initially would have expected it. A bit unconventional, especially with the Mayans, not to go for some early archer stuff. But also, Nessy over here on the Berbers hasn't actually made any scouts or any actual military production buildings, but also has not dropped the dock just yet. So Neo, having the advantage on the early water, is probably going to start building a small eco lead here. No more significant idle TC time has come up, so I expect Neo to stabilize a bit here, maybe collect themselves a bit in terms of nerves, and that's going to be all good for them then, I assume. Gonna reclaim that eco lead. I'm in time zone Berlin. I live in Germany, and yeah, typically during weekdays I go to university, but most evenings I can play, and I will definitely make times at some point that is convenient for you as well. So it's not like I'm always busy. Scouts arriving from Nessy here, just like we expected. A little bit late, but at least they've brought 5 of them, so maybe they can get a pick here. Let's see if the villagers can get home safely. No blocking, not the perfect micro here from Nessy, but at least not taking a lot of unnecessary damage either. The walls from DragonNeo. I criticized this from Iron Sky as well last series. If you want to wall yourself in and go to Castle Age, minimal military investment, if you want to do all that, you gotta wall the front first. My guys, the side walls are nice and all, and it's good not to get flanked, but if the scouts can just waltz in from the front, I mean, your villages are just gonna suffer immediately. That is kind of concerning there. Interesting split here from Nessy, sending a few scouts back home while... Oh, she's getting harassed. That is interesting. I don't actually know, for the record, if that's a he or a she, so I'm just using whatever pronoun escapes my lips. Good trades here for Neo at this point. The favorite maybe starting to ramp up a bit. Few spearmen just to deal with that. Could already go up to feudal age, but doesn't have the buildings down yet. He has the wood necessary to drop those buildings, so I expect that to happen soon. I think would benefit also from dropping maybe the blacksmith here to stop the scouts from getting into the wood line. It's a bit hectic of a game here. I can't lie. Nessy already starting to mine in the middle. The forward fire ships have done some damage, but can't reach anything significant. And at home, the spearmen are doing a fine job, but still it looks like, if we look at the eco KD, 3-0 villager kills from Nessy. A bit sloppy from Neo, who has the spearmen necessary, but maybe not always in the correct positions in order to defend against those scouts which have come in there. Finally, I think the last scout went down, so Nessy now 33 villagers against Neo's 32, and some fishing ships, at least one for the Mayans there. Wonder why they're not making more, and still only one building dropped. This blacksmith is now being constructed. I wonder what... Oh, we've got the archer range, of course. I missed that one. My apologies. The fire ships have now spotted the gold miners in the middle, so that is valuable information for Neo to have. Wonder if he's going to be able to do anything about that. Currently housed. Now a lot of golden... Oh, I don't like this. I think this might be a turning point of the game. Neo has now spent a lot of food and only 4 villages on food. I think they should have gone up to Castle Age immediately at this point. Oh, alright. So they are now investing a lot into military and into upgrades. Now starting to make archers. I'm not a fan of this one, I can't lie, guys. This feels like a very delayed feudal age military commitment, and that is going to cost them. I imagine. At least making a few more fishing ships now, that's absolutely paramount. But 1,000 gold floating could have been up to Castle Age before Nessy, instead it's going to be way late on that. And only now getting the upgrades, not even sending the military forward yet, just allowing Nessy to just absolutely freely reach Castle Age without harassing any of these wood lines, without harassing that. It's so much open eco. You know the enemy has this is really... this is falling asleep at the wheel. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just... I'm not flaming here. Don't get me wrong. It's just that Neo really could have pushed that better. If we're making military here, we gotta get out onto the map. Does so now, but you know that there's gold miners in the middle. Get on in there. Quick. Quick. The opponent is about to reach Castle Age, and once those knights start coming in, your archers are gonna look absolutely useless. Even the 4 spearmen that you have don't hold a candle against those enemy knights. And now finally we see some shots being fired onto the enemy miners, the gold miners here. Now in disarray, running home, trying to scramble to get out of there. Maybe gonna lose 1 or 2 of them, but it looks like that's an absolutely worthwhile investment for Nessy. Grabbing some free gold there in the middle pretty much for all these minutes here. Loses 1 of those villagers, the other one just barely gets out of there. Yeah, you can absolutely live with that. The eco KD 3-1 still. Nothing major for Nessy, who now is getting a few of those villagers shot at, but with just archers with fletching. The opponent not even on the way to Castle Age yet. Just a grossly misbalanced eco for Neo. Unless they want to make archers out of 3 ranges here for the next minute, those resources are going to be lying around there for quite a while. Even open in the bottom of the base, I don't think Nessy caught that. At least has some knights there, but yeah, this opening doesn't matter at all. Now even trapping the enemy archers. Oh, it looks like our underdog is having a pretty smooth start to this game right here. Neo, still with all those rests, still not finding any point to pressure. All they've done so far is deny the gold in the middle, which is absolutely fine since there's so much gold at home that Nessy is not going to be breaking a sweat. More knights being produced. We've got 6 out already. A 7th one came out just now. And just very similar to the last game that we've seen on this map here, between 3 Cores and Iron Sky. The Berber Scout into Knights are potent and demand either early harassment or a quick and swift response, which Neo has not been able to master, only now clicked up to Castle Age. This is a blundered opening as far as I'm concerned. Look at those knights. They don't even care about those few spearmen poking at them. Gonna take out a few villagers. Are now turning towards the archers. Again, the micro isn't perfect, but Nessy here is the 11th seed, definitely getting work done. And I'm not talking about cosmetics. 4-1 eco KD right now. Only got 1 villager off of that knight invade, but now able to find a few more. It's just a lot of idle eco time for Neo as well. Idle TC time starts mounting up. Nessy starting to drop that second town center. Already got it down. Yeah, she's in a, or they are in a great spot. I love to see that for them. And maybe we could see the start to what might become a great underdog story here. Still the knights roaming around. Oh, only 47 combined HP on those 3 scouts, but that is enough to distract the entire Malian army. Even takes out another spearman before finally being cleaned up. 5 knights already been made again at home, and they're gonna get out onto the map as well. Castle Age finally there for DragonNeo, who's got a lot of resources to spend. 1500 wood, which I don't see how they are going to be spent. Probably going to be laying around there for a while. And the funny thing is, still almost half of their villages, exactly half of their villages for a fact, being on wood is inexplicable to me. I wonder what they're saving for. Why not drop a ton more farms here? We've already got horse color. We can drop a few of them. No, it won't hurt. Investing a bit more into a food eco. Now getting the pikeman upgrade is not a bad idea. The opponent has shown to be reliant on melee cavalry so far, although we gotta expect maybe at some point the Camel archers switch might be coming in. The Geniteurs against the Mayan archers cannot be discounted, and again the knights are in there, starting to pick away at these enemy pikemen. The upgrades aren't quite there yet though for Nessy. Maybe the second armor upgrade would have been a good idea at this point. Crossbow upgrade is in, no ballistics yet of course, but that is 14 crossbowmen that if you stand still are going to melt through these knights, since no second upgrade yet. At least the bloodlines are in now, and that is a big injection of HP. Elite skirmisher on the way too for Nessy, so that is interesting. Opting to go for skirmishers there, not for Janitors, which I actually would have expected here, since almost the castle, almost the required stone for a castle is there, and 2 TCs dropped by Neo. I wonder if that is a good idea. Without any map control, you can't just drop a TC in the middle of the map usually. And you see, if you can't even defend yourself at home against those night raids and start losing those crossbow numbers, that is dangerous. I don't think you can even think about it, dropping a TC in the middle without any castles or any military protection around. Good play by Nessy so far. Of course, hasn't done terrible amounts of damage, but 12 villagers down at this point already is a sizable lead for the Berbers. Now both players on 2 TCs. The idle time for Nessy is a bit concerning. Hasn't been producing villagers out of both these TCs, despite having the food for it, which I've done as well earlier today actually, so I shouldn't judge. The defensive castle even is interesting. Maybe wants to make sure to be able to get onto water, so the castle there is fine, but honestly with the military control that Nessy has, I think castle drop in the middle would have been more than justified, if not even necessary. But now we see a decent crossbow mass up against those knights, so Nessy has to run for the moment. Maybe trying to reunite with those reinforcements of knights and some skirmishes at home. I don't see exactly where those skirmishes currently are located. Well, they're stacking down here. Okay, maybe that's a bit of a waypoint issue. Wouldn't have exactly wanted the gathering point down there. But with the knights up here and the crossbows, you really gotta start moving on over. The knights are taking the engagement before the skirmishes are there. It looks like they're taking a good trade. Neo not finding a spot to shoot from safely. Doesn't have the ballistics yet, so it's difficult to trade into knights. We've all been there, at least if we've played an Archer Civ before. And those knights are going to have to retreat again. Meh. Alright, I mean, not the best trade for Nessy, but it doesn't look like she lost a lot there. Turtle KD, Eco KD still heavily in the Berber's favor. But overall the game is not, definitely not out of Dragon's reach just yet. Good play by Nessy, man. That is something I do way too little, and I respect this so much. Such a good idea to just send the knights forward. Because you've seen the crossbowmen move forward. You can't take the engagement against the crossbowmen. What you can do is send the knights towards the enemy base, forcing them to march their crossbow mass home. Now, DragonNeo is not ready to do that, because if they move the crossbows home, they can't put up this TC in the middle, which they really have put their mind to doing right now. So, what Nessy has been able to do is pick up all the reinforcements that came along the way with those knights, and that is a very high value knight army. 15 kills on those 9 knights alone, and they're again in the enemy Seco. Now begrudgingly those crossbowmen have been moved back home for Neo, and he's gonna still get that TC up in the middle, but he's lost a lot already again to those knights, which have barely taken losses themselves. So I like the strategy from Nessy. Micro hasn't been great, but the overall strategy has been superb, I have to say. I like the pressure being put on the enemy there, and that's exactly what I said earlier. I want to see the underdogs make stuff happen, even if the execution isn't perfect, which it actually pretty much has been, but even if it wasn't, I mean, just distracting the enemy, keeping them busy, making them uncomfortable is so paramount against favorites. Mangonels coming out against those Mayan crossbowmen now for Nessy. It's gonna be all good on defense here, even with the skirmishers. I don't think the mangonels were necessary, but maybe against the pikemen they could be useful, since your skirmishers aren't gonna be doing a lot of damage to them. Looks like Nessy maybe lost track of those knights north, but quickly recovers, so I like what I'm seeing so far from the 11th seed of our bracket. Huge props to that. DragonNeo now expanding a bit, getting a bit of a forward here. I'm not sure what those 3 houses are supposed to be, but getting barracks there as well. Interesting, maybe thinking about dropping a town center there at some point. Pikemen still very effective, of course, at dissuading those knights, but you're never going to be able to take them out unless Nessy makes a mistake and slips up. Nessy, meanwhile, about to hit Imp. And we're at a crossroads at that point, because Nessy has a lot of knights in the field, probably, almost certainly going to go for the upgrade into Cavaliers. Doesn't have the techs yet for any ranged units at all, but might lose a lot of these knights here before even hitting Imp and getting those upgrades. You don't want to fight right now. I know you've just got the mangonels to the front, but I don't want you taking this fight. Like, even though they are winning this fight, it's a good fight in a vacuum. Just losing those knights before you hit Imp wasn't really necessary, or before you get the Imp upgrades in, I should have said. Still, they are winning the fight and about to take out the enemy town center there, but could have been way more efficient. And still, pull back. You don't have the armor upgrade yet. You don't have Cavalier. This fight could be so much better. A little bit of impatience showing there from Nessy. And now at this point, you've got 3 knights in the field. 4 knights, 5 knights. Is the Cavalier upgrade even worth anymore at this point? You've got to start questioning that, because the opponent has fully itemized or fully tacked. Oh. The opponent has fully tacked against your knights, so maybe at this point you cancel the Cavalier upgrade and go into something different. Just some food for thought. Opponent throwing away a lot of crossbows and villages though to contest this, so it was still a really good exchange for Nessy, but still, they are not in a great situation in terms of eco here. The village elite is almost non-existent. A 32-1 eco KD with equal eco numbers on the field. That's the ILTC time they're showing for the Berbers, and the 4 towns in the expansion from the mines, which I gotta credit Neo for. Maybe a bit of a late game player here, or mid game player. The early wasn't all that smooth. Maybe some nerfs again, as I said. It takes some time to get used to the tournament feeling. But even though that 1 TC is now lost, 3 TC is still up and running, and the eco is still fine. The score is almost even close, so I don't think Neo needs to get discouraged here just yet. It's still Mayans. You guys know Mayan privilege is strong, live and well here. Dropping a castle in the back now. They are expecting to be pushed back a lot here because Imp is still far away unless the market was going to be used. Middle control meanwhile being seized by Nessy with the skirmishes in Tau is a good idea. To bring the Mangonels forward as well is of course just to make it difficult for any pikemen or crossbow masters to mess up your army. Still committing heavily into Cavalier. I'm not sure I love that. A lot of gold investment for a unit that the enemy has tacked against. Oh, only now the chainmail armor being researched is a bit late, and probably would have done a lot to swing that earlier fight in Dragon's favor. Either way, getting that now at least helps against the enemy Cavalier. And we gotta see, it's difficult for the Mayans. I mean, you can go Halberd and Halberd Eagle maybe against this enemy comp. Eagle good against the Mangonels, good against the skirmishers, very good. Good against the traps, and Halberd is against the Cavalier. Maybe that's all you need. Eagle and Halb. And you see the Eagles coming in already. They are Eagle warriors here. Not elite yet, of course, since Imp not yet in. But the armor upgrade is into one of the attack upgrades. That is pretty good units. They are trying to snipe the enemy trebuchets, and at least one of them, no! It stays alive! Oh, that is a terrible turn of events. They just lost those 12 eagles, or however many it were, and didn't get the traps. That is massive. I think that might be the breaking point of the game, honestly. Because that TC expectedly drops. Almost Imp going to be in for Neo, but they realize they've run out of time. Great play there by Nessy to win this game. Really surprising me with the level of play here from the 11th seed. One of the best games that I've seen in the tournament so far in our group. And they take the 1-0 lead in this series. Respect to Nessy. Love to see it. Let's see if we can take a look at the draft again. So, match 2 is on Arena, it seems. I guess it might be Burgundians versus... Nah, what? Wow, Nessy picked both Burgundians and Mayans and ended up getting Burgundians on Arena? Is that real? Let's see if that is real. Let's see if that actually is real before I spew any fake news. Yes, it is. Burgundians on Arena. If you guys don't know, the opponent picks your civilization on this map, or in this tournament. And you got Burgundians, the arguably best arena civ. Anyone that's seen NAC4 knows what I'm talking about. This is wild. 1-0 series lead for Nessy. And oh, I apologize. It's not Nessy, it's Neo who has Burgundians on arena. So that is surprising to me. Now, let's be prepared to transition into that game, if we will. Burgundians versus Malians on arena. Well, I've seen it all. Burgundians in a pick your poison tournament game. That is quite surprising, guys. Let's head into it then. Not much reason to beat around the bush here anymore. Let's transition into the game. DragonNeo is the 6th seed against Nessy, who is the 11th seed of our bracket J. This is the matchup we're looking at here, and the underdog Nessy with a 1-0 series lead, playing as the Malians against the Burgundians. So, knowing that, let's take a look at the Civ Bony. Again, it's arena, so we know we've got some time here to take care of this, to cover the general information that people might need. And again, maybe I'll just make Nessy orange again to keep consistency going here. Left civilization is the Burgundians. So, why do I say they are the best arena civ? Well, pretty much just because the pros say so. But why do they say so? Great eco bonuses. You get all the eco upgrades a bit earlier and for cheaper. You're able to get cheaper stable tax. Okay, that's nice. You get Cavalier upgrading Castle Age already, which is also super weird. But then you get the 2 unique tax. Burgundian vineyards. Farmers getting gold from their farming activity. That how stupid OP does that sound for late game, guys? You get gold off of all of your farmers. If you've got 50 farmers here on Arena, you just get 50 villagers passively generating a small trickle of gold. I mean, pretty stupid. But then Flemish Revolution, we've all seen it. At least the ones of us that have watched pro play. All your villages get turned into infantry units, which are pretty potent as well. And that in the late game can swing the game in itself. So maybe you're gonna see some nice Flemish button victory here for Neo to even out the series, or maybe Nessy on the Malians on the other side is going to be able to close the game out here with a 2-0 underdog victory. That would be something, wouldn't it? Now let's see, what do the Malians bring to the table then? Well, they're classified as an infantry civilization. Cheaper wood cost for the buildings is always nice. Makes the boom a bit easier, and also the TC drops then. So honestly, good bonus for Arena 2. The barracks more peace armor is pretty interesting. So all your barracks units with more peace armor is especially good in trash wars late game, or against archer civs, of course, which I don't really expect of the Burgundians to be going into a lot of archers, but still. And the big bonus, of course, getting more gold from all of the resources on the map here, right? So if you're mining gold, you just generate more gold than you should realistically. That is the big bonus there. Other than that, I mean, cheaper or faster working universities could interestingly be a good bonus on Arena, because you can get the murder holes really quickly if you need them. You can get fortified wall if you see the enemy making the Flemish. Or you can get chemistry and start getting some hand cannoneers, which I don't believe the Malians actually get. So maybe scratch that from the list of things to do with that bonus. Either way, it is a pretty good civilization. Overall, I just don't think it's one of the top tier civs on Arena, at least not classic, typically considered as such. They do get hand cannoneers? Oh, that is weird. I didn't expect that, but apparently they do get that, so yay Malians. Alright, other than that, I mean, the Farimba is the well-known technology that gives cavalry stupid amounts of attack. Maybe that can be used, but cavalry not typically what Malians end up going for. And the Tigui, whatever that is called, not all that impactful on this map either, most likely. All good. Now, let's see what we've got going here. Both of these players are at 18 to 19 villages. Again, both of them with unexpected amounts of idle TC time already. Of course, we're not in pro play here. 800 to 1050 elo. So, all good and reasonable when these guys don't have the perfect builds. Neither do I, of course. I'm just one of them. So, I'm not complaining here. But that results in overall pretty equal eco numbers, rather, for both of these players. Yeah, both of them probably gonna just go for a standard boom. I don't see any reason why we don't just go fast castle into multiple TCs here on either side, unless I'm missing something. Of course, the Burgundians especially going to be content with just scaling for a while. You'll notice that they've already picked up the double bit axe in Feudal Age, or in Dark Age rather, because as I told you guys earlier, you are allowed to get all of the eco upgrades 1 age earlier than any other civ when playing as the Burgundians. And already having made use of that bonus, DragonNeo is generating a lot of wood that nobody else in this point in the game would be able to. So far so good. I don't see any major blunders. I mean, 2 lumber camps for Nessy. I've said this before in this tournament. I have heard that on Arena you typically don't drop a second lumber camp in Dark Age, just because you are likely to just drop 1 or 2 more town centers at the start of Castle Age, and you just use that as your new lumber camp then. Feudal Age on the way for the Burgundians. 25 villages. Looks like a rather smooth, fast castle to me. Still no Feudal Age in for Nessy is a bit surprising, but maybe the investment of the extra lumber camp is something that has cost them a bit. 26 villager Feudal Age, not the end of the world, just a little bit later on that up click, 40 seconds or so. Horse color already coming in for Neo as they transition to a few farms here. I think they are on their best way to Castle Age. Looks like a 27 Castle Age click up is very much realistic for them. Whereas Nessy, I mean, also resource wise it looks very fine. Not having pushed any deer, that is surprising to me. Wouldn't need all of these farms and could have gone up 1 or 2 villages earlier, frankly, had they been pushing all those deer. But maybe before the action actually starts going here, let's take a look at each player's scouting. All the 5 relics have been scouted by Nessy. That is the thing, right? I didn't touch on this earlier, but the Burgundians get gold and food from collecting relics. So maybe you really want to play heavily around those relics to make sure they can't make use of this bonus. You see on the other side, DragonNeo hasn't scouted all that much yet. They don't see a lot of these relics. Frankly, they only see 1 of them, if I don't see this wrong, and they have their scout just standing in the corner, so subpar scouting there. Have they pushed all of their deers though? It would appear as though they did, so at least they got that extra food going for them. We'll see if they if they end up regretting not scouting a lot. Castle Age about to be in for Neo, I assume, as this next villager comes out. They made 4 villagers in Feudal Age, even queuing up a 5th one. I'm so surprised. Oh, they haven't dropped any buildings just yet. Wow, I wonder if that was planned. Why are we playing a 5 villager Feudal Age when we're not actually really doing anything there? That is surprising to me. Pretty late there, as far as I'm concerned, because again, you want to get to Castle Age, I believe, and then just start mega booming. Ideally, market coming up here, really trying to force this one up as another villager has been produced, and now just going to wait it out and click up. At least going to be able to queue Bo3 immediately. There we go. The click up to Castle Age is a minute later than for Nessy, so I guess good job by Nessy, just investing 1 more, waiting for 1 more villager in during Dark Age, allowed them to get up to Castle Age a minute earlier and much more smoothly. Wonder what the plan then is for Neo. Dropping a barracks right now. Really think the Bo3 could be beneficial here. There we go. A huge technology here, and you need a lot of wood in early Castle Age, so I think very much worthwhile to get that. I don't think the heavy plow is a good idea. Don't think that's going to be paying off anytime soon. Either way, eco upgrades are always tempting, and I understand the decision. I don't think it is the correct one though. On the other side, Castle Age about to come in. Hello Beige, good to see you. Why are you always here for the arena games? Are you here for the madness primarily, or you just enjoy, you need something to fall asleep to? And good to see you though. Yeah, we see the first player arrive in Castle Age and doing exactly what I suggested. Dropping those TCs on the wood lines. Again, this is why I suggested maybe not dropping the second lumber camp in Dark Age. You're gonna get those town centers on the wood line anyways. I don't think the second lumber was actually necessary. Burgundians also about to hit Castle Age down. Let's see if they also go for the traditional 3 TC boom. Just your luck though. I see. Ah, you must just have some special type of preferences there to appear for those arena games. I'm just messing though. Yeah, we see. Are you actually playing in the tournament yourself, Beige? I think I forgot asking about that. But are you actually registered yourself? If so, what bracket are you in? And of course, cast your games as well when they come up. Or maybe Daniela does that anyways. I don't know. Stable coming up for Burgundians, nothing surprising there. Remember, I showed earlier they could get a Cavalier upgrade in Castle Age already, if that was the direction they wanted to go. Mainly, I expect the early Castle Age to be about collecting relics, though. That is what, especially what we saw in this tournament twice already, is that on Arena, us lower tier players, we love skirmishing over relics. Not always most efficient manner, but here we see right there, Nessy has the priorities in order. And maybe this is where DragonNeo's early subpar scouting comes to bite them. Although no, finally they were able to scout the entire middle of the map, so they should have realized that this relic is gone now. Alright, has picked up that one. Oh, you're in Group H, Beige. That is super interesting. Somebody from Group H asked me to cast their games. So, you also being in there, I'll probably definitely end up casting you at some point then. But yeah, I think if the recordings are uploaded, maybe I'll just cast your set sometime soon then. Yeah, gonna be interesting. Don't spoil then, please. So I can go in there and make it a good show. I'll definitely ping all the, as always, right? I ping all the players whose games I cast when I cast them. So if you're online, then you won't miss it. Either way, then yeah, I'm excited to see what beige gameplay looks like. That is quite curious. Alright, 3 town centers up for Neo as well, just as we suspect. Villager lead though, look at Nessy idling all those TCs. I don't think they put up enough farms. Look at this, just 10 farms. You can't sustain 3 TC production. And now even having the TC next to the deer, why are we not eating them? That's free food right there. You don't need to put up farms if you have those food. And instead we have again 19 villages on wood. That's exactly what Neo did last game, having half their villages on wood when we already have thousands of wood lying around. I gotta call into question the eco balance that has been put up here. And yeah, I don't think that is very efficient. At least I gotta applaud the efficiency in picking up relics. 3 relics gathered already, and that is denying that Burgundian food and gold generation that can be gained from relics. But with that relic being picked up by Burgundians, I feel like that's gonna be all of those. Oh yeah, they already got one. I didn't see that. Okay, 3-2 in relics. I don't think that's a game ender for either one, but I believe Nessy is gonna be happy having denied the majority of those from the Burgundians. House wall coming up over here. One way to secure gold. I definitely don't do that enough on Arena. I typically don't use building walls there, but looks pretty effective in this spot. Good vision there by Neo. Now even having scouted his backyard, which this time around sadly isn't one of those worm-like structures or shapes. And the forward starts coming out for Nessy. Nobody heavily on stone, so no immediate castle drops going to be coming in. Knights for Nessy up against, well, nothing really from Neo. Hasn't produced any army just yet. A lot of gold still available to them. 1 monk, 1 spearman, 2 scouts. I don't think that's going to be stopping the enemy knights, although the stone walls certainly are. Barracks coming up for Nessy. I wonder, of course, we saw Malians considered an infantry civilization. I wonder what they're going to go for. Looks like pikemen is the answer for now, and of course playing against the Burgundians, expecting cavalry. I think just preparing some pikemen in general isn't a bad call. With the knights, with the monks, that's a solid army composition. I wonder if you're not better off going towards imp at this point though. Because are you really going to be pushing before getting to traps? I doubt it. Now DragonNeo does a good job scouting this one. Remember, we're already up 1-0 in the series for Nessy. So if Neo wants to survive in the tournament, they need to win the next 2 games straight. Losing here would eliminate them. Nessy already dropping a castle as well, so they are looking to turn up the pace here, but Neo is gonna click up to Imp here any moment, although the second building is still missing, which they probably realize as well at this point. Overall eco balance is pretty fine, I would say, for the Burgundians, but not having up that building kind of costs them. 40 on wood is a bit surprising. Wonder if we really need all of that. But the university is starting to go up over there, and then Imp is going to come in shortly after that, I would expect. Overall eco numbers now heavily in Burgundians' favor. Look at this, 17 minutes idle TC time. I have to applaud this, really. Neo been able to... These 1 minute 18 seconds idle TC time, that's some pro play level of numbers for this late in the game with 3 TCs. And you can see that's where the eco lead really is coming from. And look at the resources that they have floating, even before, even after clicking up to Castle or to Imp. Sorry, they have now queued Imp in one of their TCs, and they still have more resources or a comparable amount of resources floating to Nessy, who at least is getting up their castle first, so that is valuable. Neo is going to arrive in Imp without being able to construct trebuchets. That might cost them. But Nessy now could start going up there. Needs the castle to finish, because they don't have the second building yet from Castle Age. Otherwise, Nessy is not going to be so late to Imp. The major difference is just the eco numbers. 40 more villages for the Burgundians. Of course, we couple that with the better eco upgrades that have been in already. Even the handcart upgrade. Oh boy. Yeah, Neo is on a good track here. Imp 2 minutes away, and Nessy only now beginning that research. Whew. It's a close one here, honestly. I prefer Neo's spot because, I mean, he's Burgundians and he's 40 eco up. But Nessy at least has a castle already and is going to be able to immediately start trebuchet production, whereas Neo is going to have to wait a little bit. Then again, Neo doesn't really need trebuchets right now. They don't really need to push. So far, they only need to consolidate their position. And they're getting crucial upgrades right now. Some pikemen upgrades, the cavalier upgrade. Which, well, not a lot of knights yet, so I'm not sure we really need that. But, of course, you don't know what the enemy has in terms of army composition. So, it's difficult to know exactly what you're gonna need here. Conversion coming in, good job there. Eliminates one knight from the enemy and even able to cause a little bit of damage in return. That's an efficient type of trade here. As the upgrades come in, we see some pikemen being made, and then probably the halberdiers also shortly after reaching Imp. Remember, this is the revamped Flemish Revolution, so what you can do is, well, or I should rather say, the amount of villages is directly proportional to the bonus cost on the technology. The more villages you have, the more expensive it's going to be. And thus, getting into the high villager numbers, if you really want to go for some Flemish Revolution play here, which they don't, it doesn't look like Neo is ready to bank their tournament life on Flemish Revolution here. If you wanted to though, you'd need a lot of resources at this point, because your villager numbers are already that ridiculously high. Imp now in for both players. Neo way ahead on the technologies, of course. Getting all the eco upgrades is, again, I don't think you really need that, but if you're in here for the long run, that is of course worthwhile. Halberdier in already, Paladin in, well, no, Paladin not in already, Cavalier in already. Paladin is an option, although, again, I'm not sure you need that, and that is a lot of gold. Whereas the opponent still stuck on knights and pikemen. Cavalier upgrade coming in for Nessy as well. And the first trap is out. That is what I mentioned, right? The advantage there for the Malians having up the castle already makes it so they can start producing traps earlier. I'm just wonder, even if you start trapping open the enemy base, do you have the military necessary to actually break in there and harass? It looks like the halberdier mass for Neo is big enough to be able to stop those cavalier from charging in, which they are probably going to do soon. I like the monk upgrades there for Malians, because you know the enemy is gonna have some knights as well. I think they've already seen them earlier, in fact. 40C down here for Neo right now. I like the eco, it's solid, and they keep expanding it. Paladin now really on the way. I don't know if you really need that. You only have 4 of them in the field right now. Maybe that's playing it a bit too slow for my liking. Okay, so they appear to be a bit unsure here, and you can understand why, right? If you lose this game as Neo, you're already out of the tournament. As the 6th seeded player of your bracket, you definitely didn't expect to go out in round 1. So you wanna see if you can extend this series by any means necessary. Thus, maybe a bit of, yeah, well, carefulness here, and a bit difficult to make such, impactful decisions. Either how, they're gonna need to respond to this somehow. I still maintain that losing this gate, getting your base broken open is not the end of the world. Losing your relics hurts though. You've got those 2 relics. Yeah, that is a bit. That's always the trap people fall into, right? You wanna have the relics in the monastery, or you rather wanna have the monastery at the front of your base, and then the relics just by default go into that monastery. Also makes it very easy to trap down that monastery, as we just saw, and that is a very good target prioritization from Nessy. If you can't break in and kill enemy villagers, taking out the monastery hurts the enemy eco the easiest. Back castle being dropped here from Neo. I think they're still very confident in their ability to pull this one out. Honestly, I think you could have argued for a Flemish Revolution here already. Like, seeing that the enemy is here with trebuchets, I think you could have completely ended this push had you gone for a Flemish Revolution on 110 villages and then immediately started the production of villages back up. You have 2,000 food in the bank. I think that would have been a good play. Just going for the early Flemish Revolution, stopping this entire push for free, pretty much, and then building back up your eco. I don't think it was necessary, though, and we see here why. You are still able to hold these enemy units. I don't even think you need to dive in there, but it looks like Neo is getting a bit impatient and wants these trebuchets to go down. This fight is still heavily in their favor, it seems, just because Paladin and Halberdier are that much stronger than, well, the Cavalier on the side of Nessy, and that is a good fight for them regardless. Was well done, didn't need the Flemish. I'm just saying, it could have been a viable play here, rather. Bombard cannons out as well now, not even needing those trebuchets. So already Neo is going to be able to push this one back, and honestly, at this point, Nessy might have already run out of steam. At least they have the 80% faster working university, so you can just quickly queue up fortified walls, for example, and buy yourself some time that way if you're scared of being pushed all the way back. It's a lot of paladins in the field by now. 23 paladins, no joke, and there's no army pretty much for Nessy to compete with that. Monks are of course a very good alternative, but you need to be on top of your game with the micro if you want to use those monks effectively, and typically in low elo they aren't able to counter heavy cavalry as effectively as they are in higher elos. At this point, it looks like Nessy is a bit unsure what to do next. I've been there, I know that feeling. You have all these resources lying around, but you have a seemingly immortal enemy army at your opposition. So you're trying to figure out what unit could I make here, what do I produce in order to take this down, and you end up producing nothing in time, so that's why 5,000 resources and more are laying on over there in Nessy's inventory. I like the fact that Neo is just blowing by this. You don't need to take out the entire enemy forward. It's a good idea to just go through and see what damage you can do at home. And, oh wow, that's even the paladins getting into the enemy base, but they don't want that. Oh, okay, I think that might have been a bit overeager. Getting maybe a few of those converted even is less than ideal. Sure, at least you're now able to... Oh, what are you doing? No, keep track of your bombard cannons. Oh, maybe the army management not the greatest there by Neo, but it looks like they are in a good position here, and they're looking to extend the series to a deciding game 3. Halberdier is storming in now. Again, you don't need to be so aggressive, I don't think, but it still might work out because we've got such good units here. The Scorpions are doing some heavy lifting here for Nessy, but it's just regular Scorpions, not even heavy ones, and thus, despite taking a lot of damage, the Halberdiers are too much for Nessy to handle. Decent play there by Neo. Getting Burgundians on arena is pretty fortunate as well. I gotta say that Didn't expect that to happen in Pick Your Poison. Who in their right mind would want that? But Nessy, fair enough, maybe felt like they weren't an arena player. Anyways, remember, this is DragonNeo's home map. Maybe they just hate arena and they hate Burgundians, and then thus they decided, let's just bundle them together, take that auto loss, and focus up for game 3. That might be the case as well. Whatever the reason, Burgundians take the win here for Neo and equalize the series at 1 win apiece. As we head into the deciding game 3 between these two guys, the loser is out of the tournament. The winner advances to round 2. Let's take a final look at the draft here as I load up the last replay. It is Sicilians versus Poles on Nomad, if I'm not mistaken. The draft seems to confirm that. And yep, that is exactly what it is. So give me just that one moment, if you will, to prepare for that last map. I'm gonna pull up the right overlays, and then we can dive right into the first time I'll be casting Poles during this tournament, I believe. It's gonna be an exciting Civ to check out, but we're all ready. And thus let's head into the game. Game number 3, the decider in this series. Nessy in the orange as the Sicilians, with a little bit of idleness there on the villager. And on the other side we've got DragonNeo as the Poles on Nomad, guys. This is absolutely exciting. Wow, look at this. There's such a far distance here for the villagers. And ooh, they're both gonna spot each other's TCs and are planting quite close to each other. Dog over here in the corner. Interesting choice, bringing the villager all the way from the east, from over here, back to the west. Either way, it's Nomad. Very RNG dependent in terms of map spawn. Of course, there's skill in choosing the right starting location, but overall, a lot can happen on this map. And maybe thus, it is a good home map to pick if you're the underdog. Maybe Nessy can pull this one out. Now let's see what the Civ bonuses have in store for us in this one. We've got DragonNeo playing as the Poles. It's a bit confusing because DragonNeo is on the right side of the scoreboard, but on the left side of the map. And Nessy is vice versa, so it is a bit confusing, but we'll get around that, guys. We'll be able to manage that. DragonNeo, though, he's playing as the Poles. Now, the bonuses for the Poles are also, I feel like, quite well known, but maybe there's some lesser known of them. Stone miners generating gold, I believe, is the classic one. Full work instead of a mill. We've all seen that, I believe, in our ladder games. And the regenerating villagers starting in feudal age. Decent feature, especially in Nomad, can be quite valuable where you're typically very open and vulnerable to enemy raids. Obuk is a very specific unique unit. I don't think necessarily going to find a lot of use and application in this matchup. The privileges as a unique check for cheaper knights is pretty big, especially if the game goes late. And the trample damage of light calf is cool, but again, very situational. Alright, that's it for the Poles. Typically a Civ with great economy, especially the later the game goes. If they get late game going, they can be scary. On the other side, we've got the Sicilians, and that's a Civ that I still don't know exactly what to make of. And Nessy, as the underdog, surely has a plan in store. It is their home map, and they picked Sicilians, although not knowing, of course, which map they would be forced to use them on. Still, it can be quite a scary civilization. Typically, what we see from Sicilians is, well, it can be a lot of things. It can be, most annoyingly, the dungeon annoyance, where you just spam dungeons on your enemy. You can also just use that building as a feudal age castle tower hybrid to secure your resources, though. Right, and especially on Nomad, where the resources are so scattered and oftentimes far away from your from your TC, having dungeons to protect them might be really impactful. Going forward with the lame even is Nessy. I like to see that kind of confidence here. Let's hope that villager survives for them as well. Maybe forced to drop some quick walls, but I'm not sure we can do that at this elo. I myself definitely wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, but able to get home safely, so very well played there. And taking away some resources already from Neo, who now ends up luring a boar from the west, and also able to survive with their villager, so no issues so far. Yeah, the Sicilian bonuses though, let's take a look at them, since we've already got them up on the screen. Extra stone at the start is cool. I mean, for your dungeon strategies, that helps out a lot. Quicker build town centers, it can of course always be a nice eco bonus. Other than that, nothing major here. Again, the better working farms is pretty neat, but of course the pole farms are still better, I think at least. Well, and then on the other hand, nothing that should be all that massive here. The transport ships, I don't think are going to play a huge role on this one. Extra pierce armor on the knights. Well, that could be nice if you want to get into a night war there with the poles. Probably don't, but still. And then the first crusader, just a nice bonus, but typically not game changing, I don't think. So I don't know this matchup, and especially not a nomad. I'm not a nomad player myself, but still it's going to be interesting to see, especially since these two guys spawned so close together, or at least chose to build their town centers so close together, rather. That's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Nessy on the Sicilians, 1 win apiece on their home map as the underdog, 11th seed against the enemy 6th seed. Can they actually make the upset happen here? That's the stakes we're playing for. Loser goes home. So both of these guys probably a bit on the edges of their seats here, respectively. Maybe let's check out how their water expansion has gone. We've got 4 fishing ships apiece, 5 now for Nessy, while Neo seems to have halted that production. Let's see who gets up to fuel age first, who maybe gets the ball rolling here and is able to create pressure. It looks like Neo feels very threatened here, going for extremely conservative walls at home, not even going out for the steer or anything. Maybe taking a look at scouting would be a good idea here, to see what they know, what they each know about their maps. And oh, look at this. That's a big problem again for Neo. The scouting not all that efficient. I mean, of course you don't spawn with a scout here, but you don't see pretty much anything here around your base. You don't even know about all the res in the north. A lot of gold there. And the deer, of course, which could be so impactful. Let's maybe check that. Oh yeah, you definitely have seen the enemy town center. Okay, now let's see. Does Nessy know more? Yes. Alright, this is definitely more vision, and especially more relevant vision. At least you see the deers. Sadly missed the stone and the gold up there. But even having your dog at the back of the enemy's base, so you can kind of get vision from there as well, it can be pretty impactful. Even has berries nearby their town center, so I like the map a bit more, maybe for Nessy, honestly. Excuse me, luckily I managed to mute that one. As Neo continues the trend of walling extremely close to the town center. I mean, it's all nice and well, right? Walling at around the town center, but how are you gonna get any rest continuing to wall like that? As Neo here with the poles, I know you want to play conservatively, you want to scale a bit, you're the poles, you've got a good late game, but I'm not convinced walling around the shooting range radius of your town center is going to be sufficient to get you to that late game. Full work here, going to be dropped again just to gather those deer, I believe. But out moves Nessy as well, potentially finding another sheep, but potentially for that boar, I would assume. Maybe seems a bit indecisive here. I wonder what the idea is. Oh, they want to drop a dungeon. That's what they're here for. Able to hit the feudal age just now, whereas Neo, of course, has just now clicked that button, I'm sorry. And that is gonna be annoying. The dungeon going up makes that full work pretty much redundant. Ah, look at this, you're not gonna be able to gather those deer with the dungeon harassing you. That is pretty annoying. Ah, we've all been there, the Sicilian harassment. And that in a deciding game 3, that could potentially be game breaking here. Not that one dungeon alone, I mean just the pressure of playing against Sicilians who you don't even have any space anyways, right? Neo is sitting here within his own 4 walls, pretty much doesn't have anything to defend with or to push with, but 0 resources there within his walls. Now he's going to get started, well, he's starting to get spammed with dungeons, denying so much of the resources, even biggest part of that woodline. Sergeants even coming out here, harassment coming in, and still no fuel late for Neo, who has banked up a little bit of wood at least, so can drop the barracks and the stable as well, if they want to go for cavalry. Maybe an archer opening would be more beneficial here though, at least in the back. So far Neo is in a fine spot. However, those berries almost used up. Looks like you might need to start going into farm soon. So that could be problematic here. Sergeant's about to break through the palisade wall too. Is going to complicate things further. In terms of villagers, of course, still Neo in a pretty good spot here, having less idle TC time, but... wow. Wow, I think they just shot down that dungeon, didn't they? Oh, that is big if that is what happened there. Nessy, of course, has 5 villagers on wood, or on stone rather, so able to replace those dungeons all the time. Now a counter tower going up for Neo, but you hate to see it. That's 125 stone invested just in defending against 1 enemy dungeon, so less than ideal there. It is, look at the pain as the poles here, trying to get those villagers in there, at least doesn't lose any, but, it's not the spot you want to typically find yourself in against the Sicilians, leading tower wars against their dungeons. Oh, and all those idle villagers now from the berries. There's not enough wood left to go onto farms. You need all of them to start chopping wood, have your fishing ships be your only food income pretty much at this point. Oh, it's just off to such a terrible start here, and as the favorite coming into the series, you're really gonna start sweating after an opening like this one. The tower is also almost down already, half HP on that one, and you can't even repair it because the dungeon is just consistently shooting away at your villagers once they pop out. I'm not a nomad expert, guys, but I don't like this game state for DragonNeo. Nessy on the cusp of making the upset actually happen. Man, they're gonna start getting hits in onto the enemy villagers as well. It's starting to get serious, and look at these sergeants. They are tanky. Sergeants are a surprisingly tanky unit. 2 base armor, 2 base pierce armor. You can't fight that with villagers. Look at this. I mean, they also don't deal a lot of damage, so those fights are a bit slow. But so much idle eco time, and a few villagers starting to go down now. Eco KD 5-1 for Nessy. Oh boy. How long is DragonNeo going to be able to keep this one up? Another dungeon about to go up. Trying desperately to dissuade them from actually completing that construction. But look at those villagers melting. You just don't have it. Oh, you just don't have the necessary units. And now it's a 10 eco lead already. Nessy is about to take this serious. But of course, since this victory would eliminate Neo from the tournament, they are going to be trying a little bit longer and not give up as quickly. Man at arms now as the response to the sergeants. They're not faring too well here, guys. Oh, that's a big investment of gold and food into those men at arms, and they haven't yielded fruit, to say the least. No villagers on gold for the Poles. Means we can't just keep on making men at arms here. We're gonna start losing all our res, and the tower now even being abandoned because that dungeon is just too annoying And too powerful. Even the stone being denied now, so you can't even get the passive gold income from the stone mining. And I love what I see from Nessy. I say this every time when I'm casting in this tournament. If you're the underdog, I want to see you make stuff happen. Annoy the better player on paper. Don't just let them get away with a free scaling game where they probably outperform you. And we see the fruits of this tactic. All those villagers on migration now, but there's no safe haven for them. This is absolutely game sealing here, this push from the dungeons. It's suffocating here. And Nessy is gonna move on to the next round here. I'm absolutely confident in that by now. Even has enough farming eco at home. Yeah, the eco is in such a good shape. I thought they might have used all of the rest to make the dungeons happen, but no. We've got enough farms to keep villager production going at all times. Idle TC times even the same between these two guys, so at no point is Nessy losing here. They are just in a great spot overall. There's no edges that the Poles have over them at all. And at this point, it's only about closing this one out. Chase down the remaining villagers in the north, clean up the enemy fishing eco, which they've already begun doing, since no gold at all accessible for the Poles. I mean, at this point, you can start doing light calf and hope that that's going to do something. It's not, though, and Neo realizes this, meaning Nessy takes the 2-1 victory in the first round of the tournament. 11th seed, upsetting the 6th seed there. Poles losing out to Sicilians on Nomad, where anything can happen. And Nessy proves it to us that if you're just active enough on the map, man, you can get anybody in trouble if they don't have the correct responses at the ready. And thus, another series concludes here in bracket J. We're all up to date, I believe, with the series from this group. And it is Nessy who moves on to the next round. Well, DragonNeo sadly is going to depart from the tournament. It was still an exciting one though, going all the distance here, and Nessy keeping their cool after winning the neutral map on Golden Swamps Game 1. Closing it out here on Nomad. Respect. And well done to them. Thanks to everybody, of course, for showing up in the chat here. I will be taking a break now. I might be casting one more series today. Otherwise, I'll be casting more tomorrow. I'll see what I'll do. Of course, as always, I'll be pinging and advertising in the advertisement channel, in the promotion channel of the Pick Your Poison Discord. For anybody that hasn't checked out the tournament yet, it is called Pick Your Poison. It's organized by Daniela, Comey, and some other great people. Appreciate the effort and time and work for the community a lot here, so give them some love as well. And this VOD, of course, as all my casting VODs do, is going to go up on YouTube within 24 hours, or more precisely in 24 hours. And I'll see you guys later or tomorrow for some more casting. Of course, we'll be streaming my games in this tournament from my point of view as well, if you're interested in that. With that being said, thanks for joining us for this series. Congrats to Nessy, and thanks for participating as well to DragonNeo in this great tournament.